Welcome to everybody who has bothered to turn this on. And I think you're probably people I know and you're nice people. And if you're not, then you can still watch it anyway. But I wanted to say a couple of things. I was watching this Kruger something effect they were talking about on one of the videos, whereas people who are incredibly stupid think that they're incredibly smart. What's that, Kruger Dunning effect or something? Of course, a couple of in the tests they did to test it, I thought were stupid. Like they brought in a bunch of people who weren't particularly funny, and then they brought in a bunch of professional comedians, and they rated jokes and which ones were funny and which ones weren't funny. Which, in my opinion, is the most subjective scientific experiment you could ever run, because what is funny contextually to whoever is laughing. You know, I guess that my point is that a person that it tells a joke and nobody laughs is not funny, and a person who tells a joke and people laugh for whatever reason is funny. They may laugh because they're uncomfortable or whatever, but they're still laughing. Laughing is what comedy is about. Well, anyway, never mind. I mean, but one of the things that they talked about on that video that I watched was the everybody should try to be good at what they're good at, and find out what you're good at and train yourself up at that thing, and then excel at that thing. And I'm thinking, what am I at this late stage in the game? What am I good at? You know, and I think nothing, nothing particular. I'm the jack of all trades and the master of none. I don't know, but I I don't think I'm good at anything really. Not particularly. So you go through your whole life, and I'm not through my whole life, but a good portion of your life, and then you say to yourself, okay, let's assess who I am, where I am, and who I am, and what I'm good at. And really, though, as far as I can tell, my greatest skill is being able to irritate people. And I don't think that's a marketable skill. I don't think that's a skill that people even really want. So anyway, but I have that skill. I can irritate anybody. And I'm an extrovert. I understand that. And I'm something of a negative most of the time. When the glass is half full, the glass is half empty, and I knock the glass over and say, "Shut up," But um, that's where I'm at. I'm not good at anything in particular, but I might tell you, and this is maybe the Kruger Dunning effect or whatever. I don't think that I'm stupid. That's kind of the thing. I'm not saying I'm a genius, and I've told people I was a genius before when I was young, but no, I'm not a genius, and I'm what you call a sub genius. And if you ever saw the Church of the Sub Geniuses, the I'm a sub genius, which means that and I've run through this before. The average IQ is 100, so that is that if they took all the IQ tests in the world and put them together and found the medium point, they would put it at 100. And then most people fall between 95 and 105, which is about 80% of the people. And then I am above 105, which means I'm better than 80% of the people as far as intelligence. But you have to get like over 120 or something like that. I forget what the number is to be called a genius. Well, I'm not there. So I'm what they call a sub genius, which means I'm smart enough to know that I'm not good at anything. That's essentially what now I'm talking about myself a lot. And I try not to talk about myself in these videos because I'm boring, basically. I'm boring maybe anyway, but when I talk about myself, I'm really going to be boring. So I want to talk about what I when I was at work, I was doing something. I was trying to imagine what other people are like, where they're coming from, you know. And I think everything comes on a scale, like just like that IQ scale. In other words, if the average is 100, then there are some people who are nice. Let's say nice people, but basically people average about 100, so they'd be like between 95 and 105 in niceness. So you might be nicer than average. You'd be like a 103. But if you're really, really nice, if you're like someone that everybody just loves and that you're good to everybody and you're kind and you're gentle and you're spiritual and you're whatever, you might come up to a 120, a nice genius, a genius at niceness, Mother Teresa, I don't know. There are, and then there's those people who are below the 95, the assholes of the world, and there's a lot of those, but really most people fall within that 10% range, between 95 and 105 in niceness, and the same thing goes with just about every possible human endeavor, as far as let's say tall and short and fast and slow, and there's those people who are the fastest. It's easy to measure that, right? But my point is that yeah, I'm I'm above average in some things and below average in other things. When that fast and slow thing, I'm below average. I'm slow. I can't run fast. Now, I try to imagine though what it is to be like other people, because everybody thinks that they're great, and I think I'm okay, you know. I don't think I'm great. I'm okay, I'm in the okay category. Not too bad, not too good, just kind of okay. But I look at people. Well, let's choose an issue. I think gun control is a good issue to talk about, because I've been very wishy-washy about gun control over my life. On the one hand, I see that there is this the Second Amendment, rather, that says, Congress shall pass no laws that restrict people from keeping and bearing arms, since there's necessary for a militia, and something like that. But it doesn't. The funny thing about the Second Amendment is it never mentions guns. It just says arms. And is a 22 pistol an armament? I don't think so. A snub-nosed 38, is that an armament? I mean, armaments mean things that you would fight wars with. Isn't that kind of what an armament, or a battle anyway? You don't fight wars with a 38 snub-nosed 38 or something like that. You don't. No, that's not an armament. That's a liquor store a robbery machine. I mean, people. It doesn't say anything about guns in the Second Amendment. So, but I'm trying to understand what. At some point in my life, I know there's certain people who love guns more. I mean, weirdly love guns. They get like and I've told this story before on one of my videos, but I've known people who have like a almost an erotic attraction to guns. And I'm trying to come up with when I was about 12 years old, I think my uncle Bob took me over to a gun store, and we were looking at guns, and there were all these great big pistols. They were heavy and solid big pistols, and I was looking at them. Ooh, a 12-year-old kid, and then when the guy behind the counter said, "Hey son, you want to hold one of these?" And I was like afraid of it. Oh, come on, just you could hold one. Train the kid young, right? And I held the gun in my hand. It was heavy, and and it was like the mystification that piece of metal had for me was weird. It was like I imagined this is something that could blow someone's head off. This is something that could kill anybody if I in the world if I aimed it at them and pulled the trigger. You know, I mean, there's sort of a mystification and awe that I had for that gun, and it's hard as a 12-year-old, and I'm trying to imagine gun people, and that's where they're at. They're emotionally, I think, 12-year-olds. You know, I mean, I'm trying to understand this, and I don't. I'm in a situation now. I could, I could have Lyme disease. I could die from COVID-19. I could be dead next month. Who knows? I mean, really. And why should I tell nicey? I don't want to upset people, but why would a grown man, an adult human being, someone who is a responsible member of the community, want a bunch of guns? It's what are they? What's is it like? I understand they're cool looking, maybe. Yeah, that's fine. I think elephants are cool too, but I don't want to own one. Wouldn't I like to go to the zoo and look at elephants and say, wow, that is really a cool animal, an elephant. But I don't want to own an elephant. That's like, it doesn't. Why do members of the community who are adult people want to own a bunch of guns and a bunch of bullets and stuff? It's kind of beyond me. The mentality is it's a 12-year-old emotional maturity is what it is. All these guys go around and then think about this. Race Bannon. Do you remember Race Bannon on Johnny Quest? He was a guy that they built in this cartoon, which to a little 12-year-old kid would be the kind of guy I would like to be when I was a grown up. He was a macho kind of guy. He used a jetpack to get around sometimes, and he was a crack shot. He had a big gun collection. He was a macho guy, and if I'm growing up, that's what I wanted when I was 12-year-old. I was gonna be a fighter pilot. I would have a falcon. I could have a hunting falcon. And I would be traveling the world surfing and doing stuff. And I did a little bit of that when I got older. And that but what a real adult person does is they grow up eventually and they realize that the United States and the world and the city that you live in is a community that you are somewhat responsible for. That you think about protecting and making comfortable and making good. The world is a community. It's the ecosystem. The families in the neighborhood are safe, and good school systems. No, being a 12-year-old grown up forever is like something that a lot of guys get stuck in. And that's all these gun guys. They're all a bunch of 12-year-old adults, like the guy I would be when I was 12 if I were an adult. I got myself a pickup truck and 20 rifles and a bunch of guns and I go hunting all the time and grow the hell up, you baby boys. The think about the time when that guy was from Japan and he was in Texas, I think it was, and he grew up He came to this place in Texas. It was in um, a party that he was supposed to go to. He was a exchange student, could speak a little bit of English, and there were going to be a bunch of girls at the party, and him and his friends went down the street in somewhere in Texas suburb, and this Japanese guy, he went to the wrong house, and he started run up the walk, and yeah, all excited, and started opening the front door of this house. And there was a guy, Mr. 12-year-old eternally emotional makeup guy, waiting behind the door, and he had a gun. He was ready. And he shot the guy and killed him right there before he got in the door, because the guy was opening his door. But think about that for a second. This guy behind that lived in that house is just waiting, hoping, and even that someone's going to try to come in here so he could kill him. Now, the fact that he killed a completely innocent, if not ignorant young man from another country, he got his chance. And the police came along and said, well, he was breaking into your house, technically, so we can't arrest you. And he was like, wow, that's a good thing, man. I can put a notch on my gun. Here, he got a little file and put a notch on his gun. Hooray, I finally got to kill somebody with my gun. Hooray. That's how guys go through life. They aren't worried about the well-being of the community. They're living in this fantasy world where they think, well, the war is coming, the race war is coming, the anarchy's coming, I'm going to be ready. One guy posted on Facebook the other day, well, the people who are stocking up on goods in case of this coming problem with the disease, those aren't people who have guns. People who have guns can just take them away from the other people. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah. All right. Well, that's what I really think of you people.